What happened to Annie Börjesson 18 years ago remains a mystery to this day. Was it self-inflicted, or did she perish at the hands of unknown assailants? One thing we know for certain is the answers could be found behind something as thin as a piece of red tape. Imagine you're walking your dog on a cold December morning. You take them to Prestwick Beach in Scotland. That's where you live.
Scotland.
I lost. Now, I mean absolutely no offense to anybody who's listening to this thing. What a crud shit dump of a beach Prestwick Beach is. If depression had a face, it would look like this gobshite beach. Again, I mean no offense to anyone, local or anyone who perhaps maybe loves that. And that's really not important to today's story, but I'm just saying maybe cross it off your bucket list.
Yeah, countries out of Australia, some of their beaches.
We are spoiled for beaches.
Yeah.
So if you see one of our beaches, even just like a shitty beach.
Yeah, like a bogan beach.
Yeah, compared, even nudgy beach. Like,
yeah.
And that's pretty shit. But if you compare that to like other beaches around the world, not all of them. You have Thailand, beautiful beaches, Brazil, beautiful beaches. But like in general, by and far, Australian beaches, even if I am sounding a little bit biased, are kind of just better. Again, not important. So you get to the beach with your canine, I would say in tow, but probably leading the way.
Yeah.
And everything seems normal. That is until you see what appears to be a body laying beside their scattered belongings.
I'm hearing a bit of Somerton Man.
No. We might have to use our imaginations for that, but I tell you who didn't. David, the guy who was walking the beach, because that's the life he lived. Yeah. And that was that was his experience on December 5th, 2005.
Nope. I'd yeet around. Shit.
What would you even do though? Like, I know you just said, yeet around and run away, but what would you do?
Do I have my phone?
Well, it's 2005.
Yeah, flip
so
phone.
you probably have a shitty one.
Yeah. Turn around, call the cops. I wouldn't look at the body. I'd just be like, I think there's something here. Yeah, no, I'd be on the phone straight away. Fuck that shit.
I'd probably get shaky, vomit, or
Yeah.
poop. Or a mixture of all three at the same time. Yeah, it's coming out of me at all sides.
Yeah.
Well, he called the cops.
Yeah.
Duh, hello, of course you would. They're there within 10 minutes.
Good.
Did not take them very long at all. And David would actually point out, like later during an interview, that he was pretty much the only witness to this scene, apart from like the authorities and stuff when they came down. He gave his statement and then was free to go. To me, that's weird. You're the only witness, is dead body. Cool. The police said that they would contact him if they needed anything, and they never so much as spoke to him again. Not for a second. Not for nothing.
That's a bit weird.
That's a bit strange, especially if you're the only witness they have.
Yeah, that's literally where I was like, ruh-roh, if he's the only one, it's gonna go on you, bud. But no, these guys are like, no.
The body in the sand would turn out to be Swedish-born Annie Börjesson, who moved to Scotland a year prior. It isn't really important to today's story at all, but how does she end up in Scotland? Well, I'll tell you, thanks for asking me. It was because she had done a trip there before and fell in love with the country.
But also you're Swedish. How could you love anything outside of Sweden?
Because you're not racist.
No, but like Sweden.
I know what you mean. It's kind of like...
Just a beautiful place.
Sweden is a stunning place.
And everyone's so nice. What are you searching for? You've just left paradise. But it's Scotland, so I get it.
Like,
Okay.
I too would go to Scotland.
I would.
And my sister-in-law, she's Scottish. Should have asked her.
I didn't know she was Scottish. That wasn't Scottish.
No, you've met her.
Yeah, but I didn't know she... Oh, yeah. Can't remember.
She has red hair and a Scottish accent.
Does she have red hair? I thought it was dark.
It was dyed, but it's like dark red.
Attention to detail.
Annie Christina Börjesson was born on the 7th of February 1975, and she grew up in a town called Tibro in Sweden.
From Sweden, yeah.
Sweden.
We've got Sweden listeners. Swedish listeners. Sweden.
Swede.
We got some Swedes.
Annie was one of 4 children, and she could converse with you about pretty much anything and enjoy herself doing it.
course, because she's Swedish.
She was fit and she was healthy and she had waist-length blonde hair. She was also a singer and she was part of the band. Don't fucking ask me the name of the band because I don't know. I looked,
Yeah.
but it does not exist anywhere because I don't think it was like an established band or anything they were trying to kind of make happen. But she was at least at one point in her life. But the real question here is what happened to Annie, and I guess by extension, why her?
Why?
I was asking you. You need to take over. It's your story now.
Why?
Well, let's start with the report that was provided to the undertakers after Annie's autopsy.
Please do.
Well, I will.
Okay, good.
Thanks for permission.
I'll allow it.
This one time.
I'll allow it.
They found frothy white material in her airways and water in her lungs. Gasp, she was found on a beach. Okay. Well,
No, well, I was thinking like drowning. Like as in like lots of...
I guess any water in your lungs is probably not a good sign. And if you're
Yeah.
dead, you might piece one and one together and get two. She had sand in her ears and up her nose.
No, stand up your nose. No thanks. Like how much sand?
They didn't say. I know. There's a question mark. We're going to leave that one there.
Oh.
They also found alcohol in her system, but it was only a small trace. It wasn't even enough to put her over the legal driving limit. They would label cause of death Sudoku by drowning.
Fuck off.
That's
No.
what they labeled it.
But she was found on... Okay, yep.
Well, I mean, if we think about it for a second, let's say you did drown in the ocean, there are waves that would push you ashore. So that's not too unreasonable, but I get it. It gets kind of a little iffy, though. They explained that there was an injury on her face that happened after she was already dead. But it was kind of odd considering when she was found, she was lying on her back and she was face up. So what gave her this contusion on her face?
Yeah. Okay.
I guess we just don't know.
Question mark number 2.
And they even made note to point out that there were no significant injuries and no signs of trauma. This is question mark number 3. This one's a big fucking red herring.
Yeah.
Only the undertakers would strongly disagree with this. Now, I think it might be good to clarify for some people. You'll have coroners that do an autopsy and stuff. You'll have undertakers who basically prep the body for the funeral and that kind of stuff. So they will handle the body and they will also take notes and see what they see. Obviously, you can compare and contrast whatever it is you find. But they are not in charge really of deciphering how a person died or anything like that.
No.
They just handle the corpse and then make sure it's presentable for whatever it is you're doing for like the funeral and for when they get interred and that kind of stuff. But after the body was flown home, so back to Sweden, and received by the undertakers, they would say that she had finger marks around her neck. That wasn't on the report. And she was covered in significant bruising, and they couldn't establish how it occurred. They noted down specifically, and I quote, that the body was in extremely poor condition. Not on the coroner notes. Yeah, your face says 1,000 words. They said that this was extremely unusual considering the circumstances behind her death.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, the stages of decomp, would it be possible that stuff wasn't showing, you know what I mean? Like from when they took her for an autopsy, is it possible for things to show up later on as the body's starting
For
to
these things, no.
No.
So there were topics that were taught about, ones that I'm not really going to get into. I wasn't going to bring it up, but you raised a good question.
Sorry.
Don't apologize. It's a good question. So they did find a big, what looked to be a big bruise at the base of her head, like at the top of her neck, base of her head. And you would think that that could have been a contusion, but because she had been dead and lying on her back, gravity kind of forced the blood to pool, and then that's where it kind of pooled, and then that it made it look like a bruise, but it was just a factor that happens after death. So there were things like that. These blood is not going to rise up to these other areas to do that. Gravity will force it down.
Transportation or someone doing something?
You can't bruise after you die.
What the fuck?
Interesting, huh? Not the only thing they noticed. Her hair had also been hacked at, which is something that her family had actually noticed. The longest part's now only 25 inches. Look, that's still long hair, but it was waist length before, and now it's 25 inches and roughly cut. On top of that, she actually had there was at least one bald patch where it looked like the hair had been pulled out. And there are other sections around the head where the hair was between 2 to 6 inches long at its longest point. So someone just had at her hair.
What the fuck? I'm so invested.
But the Scottish report that was written up, all they said, like literally all they said about her hair is that she had long hair. That's it. Later on, because this obviously got brought up by the Swedish people, there was a response that was provided by the Minister of Healthcare, Anthony Kerr, and he said that they did possibly cut a full inch to maybe half an inch of hair, I think all over, and that was done by the undertakers. But I don't really know why. Like, I don't know why they would do
DNA?
that. Like, why
No,
would
but
they take
even
hair
then,
for
hair,
that?
yeah, hair can be very
They have
hit and
skin
miss.
sample, they could do a mouth swab. There's so many things they could do without having to actually cut her hair off.
I also think, wouldn't you need like permission? Or the family? Because if you're hacking at the hair,
But I mean, you
because the
can
body gets turned over to the
you can
family.
probably cut the hair. They, I don't think, were the ones that hacked the hair.
Yeah.
So he said that they took a sample of hair,
Yeah.
but they didn't take 30-something inches of hair off her head.
But even taking a sample, that's a bit like.
I just feel like you would notice that, though. That would seem odd.
Yeah, and fair enough, you don't know what her hair was like when she was living, but by what
They
you've
do.
described, that would stand out.
Yeah, they do, but I don't know if they found this out later. Anyway, if you are a coroner or an undertaker, you work with bodies, whatever, if you know why they would take a sample of your hair, please let us know, because it is very interesting, and I think that would be beneficial to our learning without us having to research it. Laziness breeds efficiency. So, now we're at the point in today's case where we need to figure out what led us here, or more so, what led Annie to Prestwick Beach. So, let's travel back a little bit, just a little ways to before the death occurred, and Annie was preparing to fly back to Sweden to spend Christmas with her family. She was super excited, right? Anyone would be. I'd be excited to fucking fly to Sweden,
Yeah.
even if I was from there. The day before she flew out, she even prepared what her return to Scotland was going to be like, because she
Yeah.
planned to live there. She loves Scotland now. She paid rent in advance by a month, indicative of someone who is wanting to return. She even booked an appointment to the hairdressers when she got back as well. Again, something indicative of somebody who is looking to return. And then I also thought, fucking Europeans have to be so organized.
So organised.
I'm jealous.
Yeah. But that is not a woman who Sudoku'd.
No, that's exactly what I was thinking too, because I was like, if you were planning on, like, unless you wanted to stage the world's best cover up and make it not look like a Sudoku, like, if you are planning on doing that, you're not paying your rent in advance. Whatever that money is, you got to spend it on something. And then,
And I know things can be last minute, but like, as in like the thought of, you know, if you go to Sudoku yourself, sometimes it can go where it's just done. But she seemed like everything was going good.
it's true, but I mean, if you are planning on Sudokuing yourself, you wouldn't be seen arriving to the airport and being captured on CCTV footage arriving at the airport, right? Would you?
What?
So she was seen. There are photos of her walking into the airport,
Uh-huh.
and then her, for some reason, like she was heading toward her departure gate, she turns around and just walks out
What?
toward Prestwick Beach.
What? So like checked in her luggage?
I don't know if she got as far as checking in.
Okay, just
She
they
went,
can see.
yeah, and I mean, she's only going to Sweden. I don't know how far away that is, but it's in Europe. She probably only had a carry-on. I
if
can't
you're going
imagine
home.
she wouldn't need
Yeah.
really that much stuff. And her home probably has a lot of her stuff there too.
Okay.
And there was even one eyewitness who said that they saw her standing at the water's edge at around 4:30 p.m. And, well, aside from David, that was the last person to claim they saw her alive. And that was a statement that was provided to Swedish authorities. But news would end up getting back to the Swedish authorities that no witness made that statement.
Okay. I don't have a lot to say. My face is just making some.
Scrunches.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, it was claimed that the statement was made, but then I believe the Scottish authorities were like, that statement wasn't made. No one said that they saw her around that time at all. And people were quite confused about how quickly they actually collected her body. It was under an hour and 40 minutes that they were done with the crime scene. right? And had dropped her off at a local mortuary.
When you be combing the beach for evidence, it takes longer than an hour.
That takes hours. You shut the beach down.
Yeah.
And then it takes hours. Not in Scotland, apparently.
No.
And they're so efficient that before a post-mortem had even been done, they had basically already advised Swedish authorities that they believe this to be a Sudoku.
This is what I don't like about, like...
Governments?
Yes, that. But, like, when a death happens in another country and it's not, like, your home country. But then it's also, like, if she was Scottish, is this how her possible death, murder case, whatever, would be handled? So that's fucked. Like, put a bit of effort into it.
Well, one of the authorities or detectives or whoever it was claimed that they did it all quickly because it was a race against time, is what he said.
Okay. To not do your job? Okay.
Or maybe by the time this happened, they were close to clocking off and that was the rest of the time.
I was
I
like,
want to go
something-
home.
yeah.
All right.
All
But
right.
this Sudoku would be something that her family would refute. And they said that there was no case for Sudoku, which makes sense given everything that we have learned about what happened. However, the Scottish police would try to pull a Uno reverse on that, saying that a lot of families struggle with the idea of a loved one taking their own life. But you just have to put the pieces together to know that something here just doesn't add up. It's kind of like what we were talking about before, like off air, like about self-fulfilling prophecies and stuff. And I think they're just saying that you're looking for an answer to something that doesn't exist because of how emotionally invested you are in this person that you love. You see bruises, they could have been caused by this thing.
Yeah.
You're automatically going to think that there was foul play. There wasn't.
But Sudoku by drowning yourself in the ocean, that's not quick.
That's slow and frightening.
And, like, you're suffocating.
Yeah.
So if she did that, how is there no one that would have seen this woman going into the water and then possibly splashing about? Because even if you go under, you might freak out a couple of times and come back up. Story does not check out.
But then also, like, how would you have the mental fortitude to hold yourself under? Like, when I have a bath, when I wash my hair out, I will lie face down in the bath. Probably not the same thing to do, but I will to, like, fall a lot. And then the second I start getting lightheaded, I am up for air. I can't do it.
That's what I mean. It's like a reflex as well. So surely, if that's how she did it. But to me, walking away from the airport as well, what the fuck is going on?
See, that part I don't get.
I don't get that either. Because, okay, a little part of that does sound like Sudoku in the sense of, like, she's just kind of switched off, she's gone to that place, she's gone, fuck it, walk to the beach, whatever. It just doesn't add up.
Doesn't. So, again, like, the reasons that they would look at refuting the claim of Sudoku makes sense. For example, she was clearly planning to head back to Sweden. Likewise, for her return, she had paid all of her bills in advance. She had booked a trip to the salon. And someone who is about to kill themselves doesn't plan ahead, at least not in that kind of way. And the plan's not going to be for that. It's strange. She also somehow had alcohol in her system, which means that she would have had to, unless it's a decom thing, between the beach and the airport. And the airport's up here, the beach is just down here. It's not far.
So that's what I was about to say, is it close? Yeah.
She would have to somehow consume alcohol that she didn't have
Yeah, where are you getting from?
because she wasn't a drinker. You have to kind of rationalize that. And yeah, they could probably say, well, she was under mental, stress. If she was looking at killing herself, it's not unreasonable to think she would have a drink. But again, that's just psychobabble. It's not necessarily something that they can look at proving at all. Her body wore signs of injuries that could not have been inflicted on herself, at least not all of them. And then back to the hair again. She had booked in with a salon. Why would she hack at and rip her own hair out?
And there's no... I'm just, like, thinking all of the things.
Yeah, think out loud though.
Was there rocks? Was there, you know what I mean, like ways in which her hair could have got caught, or, you know what I mean, something...
I'll show you this depression beach.
Yeah.
And you can judge for yourself.
So when you said the hair, I was like, oh, maybe rocks, or if she's thrown around from the water, or this or that, but...
Not even crabs are going to do that to your hair. And I mean like the actual crustacean. I don't mean like crabs.
Yeah, weird.
So, during the investigation, they checked her phone records for clues, which is kind of normal. And they noted down that she had received no phone calls in the 3 days prior to her death. Not a single one. In fact, the last one that they had a record of was on the 1st of December when she spoke with her mom about coming back. Like, they were just talking about the itinerary and stuff. However, there would be a friend that witnessed her on the phone with someone who we don't know on the 3rd. But there's no phone records past that time.
What?
Which is really weird.
What would records have been like back then? Because I'm thinking of like 2005, phones are still kind of new-ish.
They check landlines, they check mobile data, so you can still see what
Even
numbers you
back then,
called and
would've-
how long. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Even back before then, even in the 90s, you were able to trace calls to that degree.
But there was no records.
Even though on the third, she definitely had a phone call because, again, she was witnessed. And apparently, the reason she had stopped taking these phone calls is because she was worried that someone had been listening in on the phone calls. And that is not even just an assumption, because that is what she told her family.
What? Do I need to get my tinfoil hat out? I brought it with me. What the fuck?
Yeah. And while there are some answers missing, there are a couple of theories / conspiracies, maybe. Either way, we shall say they are suspicious. And spoiler alert, none of them are obviously confirmed to the 100th degree. One theory is a suspicious character named Martin Leslie.
2 first names, can't trust them.
He was a man that Annie would run into one evening while she was clubbing. As you do, it's normal, whatever.
Yeah, 2005.
Yeah, you're right. You're shaking your groove thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, he made her feel uneasy, and she kind of didn't like him very much because he's quite intense. And he claimed that he was a rugby player from New Zealand
Oh.
who was playing for the Scottish team. A few days after she met him, I don't believe they exchanged anything. He would just randomly turn up at her local swimming pool while she was swimming laps, and he sat there and just watched her.
Nope.
She too would also contact her family, and she would say, I think this guy is a sexual predator.
And obviously didn't go to the cops though.
Well, the authorities were never able to track him down, but one thing that they are certain is that this man was not from New Zealand, and they couldn't even confirm that that was his name.
Ruh-roh.
Ruh-roh indeed. Another one is that the US had something to do with it, and this sounds a bit far-fetched, but hear me out.
Let me talk.
So this is a true story, this part. Not that the last one wasn't, but this one involves another person who is alive today. There was a journalist from the US, and strangely, her name was Christina Börjesson. I found that strange because the victim's name is Annie Christina Börjesson. Odd. Actual journalist, I looked her up. She's real. She's actually an Emmy award-winning journalist, so she knows her
Legit?
shit and she's credible, right? She specialized in investigating secret services in America. And she discovered that the US intelligence was flying suspected terrorists around the world to prisons and stuff, not just hey babe, let's go for a flight. And they would actually fly the Middle Eastern ones out of Prestwick Airport to high security prisons, Guantanamo Bay,
Yeah.
big deal prison. So the theory here is that Annie was mistaken for a suspect by one of the US agents, and this led to her death. And you may be thinking that it's a bit of a stretch, but it adds a little bit of weight to it because a different journalist, kind of under the Freedom of Information Act, wanted to get the conversations that took place between Scotland and Sweden, and she was denied, saying that it wasn't for the best interest of the public for that information to be out there, that it would also have an impact on relations with a foreign state. So Scotland didn't think it would be in their best interest because they might have issues with Sweden if they did release this information. Also on that, even her family would reach out asking for the photos taken by the coroners that did the autopsy and stuff, because they wanted to see if these photos would match up with what they had received back, because it didn't make sense to them. But they were declined these photos, saying it wasn't in the family's best interest to see these images.
But they've seen, okay. Yeah.
The most interesting part in all of that is that they were able to establish, at least the second journalist, whose name I don't have, it wasn't printed there, was able to discover that Annie's death was classified as a state secret. But how could a Sudoku case harm foreign relations, and how could that be a state secret if someone just took their own life?
Also, little part of me is did they actually take photos? And they're not just trying to be oh, we got the photos, but it's your best interest to not see them.
Well, there's that, but then also refusing to release any of their communications between the two different states. That to me is a bit
Unless
odd.
they were taking the piss in their conversations. Old fucking Gaz was having a good old chinwag to... But who is this girl? Why is she...
who actually knows, and until the red tape is lifted, we may never know the truth of what happened to Annie all those years ago. The end.
What the fuck? Has any push been done for more, like from 2005 to 2023?
Well, I don't know when the journalists were asking for that information, so I don't know if that was more recent.
Yeah.
I kind of have a feeling I read somewhere 2016 or something along those lines, so not terribly long ago. Not as recent as like 2 or 3 years, whatever, but people still want to know. It's still interesting, and the only way we're going to find out is, again, if they lift that red tape and they declassify this state secret that apparently exists over a suicide case. So
I'm going to be having a little look into this one. That's very interesting. Fucked, but interesting. I just have a lot of questions.
Of course you do. And likewise, if we have any listeners out there that are still listening to this case, and I hope they are because it is very interesting.
Yeah.
If you have anything to say about it, if you know anything extra that I missed today, if there's anything further that you want, please let us know. You can find our link tree on our Instagram, or just go to linktree/One-Time Mysteries. Contact us on our social medias. Contact us via Suggest a Case, and we will absolutely get back to you.
Yeah, and what do you think happened?
Look, I've been thinking about this case for like a little while.
Yeah.
And something doesn't seem right to me. From what I learnt, she does not seem the kind, and I don't know her, but she does not seem the kind who would want to kill herself. I also don't think that someone who is going to do that is going to plan things for their return. Like, again, as I said before, unless they're looking at doing the biggest cover-up in Scottish history, that they're like, well, I don't want them to think it's a suicide, so I'm going to do this. It's just a very elaborate way to kind of stage your own death. Then on top of that, why would you actually go to the airport and then turn around and leave?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many things that don't make sense. I believe, foul play. At the hands of who? I don't know. Like, I don't believe they said anything about her items being stolen, just that they were strewn, like, around beside her. She was with her stuff. So if she was in the water and her stuff were in the water, I do not think that all of her things would have been there with her. Also, apparently she's found, like, against or near the sand wall. I don't know how far the tide goes in, but again, I just can't imagine that she would be found with her stuff beside her if she had truly drowned. There was also this other thing that they're talking about where they went and they checked the water that was in her lungs, and they found water from a fresh source. They found algae from fresh water in her lungs, but apparently they researched it and it was something to do with the fresh water she had been drinking had that, and maybe it wasn't in her lungs, but it was in her whatever, I don't know. So it's like, you really don't know what to believe, but what I believe in my soul is that this was at the hands of somebody else or other people. When you look at that red tape stuff, like, yeah, I don't want to put a tinfoil hat on either, but it does seem like there's a chance that there was a cover-up.
Yeah, if you've got nothing to hide, you'd provide everything you can. And it's not your right to say, well, this won't do you any good. I'll be the judge of that.
Correct. But then also, like, why is it a state secret? Why is a suicide a state secret?
I think you mung beans should interact on the post and let us know what you think happened.
Yeah, and until next time. Goodbye. Bye.
You better come down. You come down here right now.
You better come down.
You come. Baby, come down. Come down.
Yeah, they
You'll be
seemed...
right to go. That's not Scottish.
What was that?
I don't
That
know.
was like a mixture of European and Indian.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just offensive. Shut up. No. Pretty bird.
Hey, birdie.
Thrilled.
How...
I'm thrilled.
How would you like to be referred to in Sweden? Just Sweden.
You know,
Yeah.
take me a Skarsgård. Which one? Who knows? Probably would even do the dad. To be honest, they're all fucking great.
Yeah, so tuck it in. Let me tell you one thing that turns me off the Swedes. Salted licorice. Enough said.
Licorice. Enough said.
You say it?
Airways.
Airways, yeah. Did it
Don't fucking ask me. I'm the bogan. Whatever I say the opposite of that, and you'll be right.
Nah, because I pronounce shit like an American and then I get confused where the emphasis goes.
And I'm just fucking everything up. That's why I was like, cut
Well,
it,
you're
'cause
not,
I'm
but
like,
you're not
yeah.
though, because I think that'll add, yeah.
I listen to too much dead stuff now that I'm like, so her body's doing this. Worry about some decompression. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, you got problems. I like it.
You're a fart.
Good problems to have. Yeah. Oh, I know, sad. She was. I did not sound like I believed that.
Sound sad. I know, sad.
But listen, even when I try, I know, sad.
I think it's just your voice, darling.
It's sad. Well, I can't do it. This is how you know I'm not going to lie to you.
That's sad. Just cut it.
I will cut it.
Yeah, don't even say, oh, that's sad. The Swiss.
That was. They're not Swiss. Swiss is Switzerland.
Swiss.
That.
Shame.
Well,